When I was like 8 or 9, I would come downstairs early and watch TV. One night, I was walking down the stairs and heard a little laugh, and I thought it was my sister. I walked down a few more steps and look around the corner. No lights on, not the TV, and she's not there either. A few seconds later, a little girl, the suspected ghost, runs by giggling, holding a stuffed animal and something I don't see in the other hand. She runs from the living room into the kitchen and disappears along with the giggling. She was wearing an old-style dress and curlyish hair. It's not a dead person in the house. My great-grandparents had this house built, and nobody has ever died inside it, or the neighbors' houses as far as I know. I've been keeping this to myself for a few years now, because I've never seen much else in the house. But does anyone know why I saw that, or is it just a ghost? The house was built in 1922, unsure exactly of all of its past history. When I was little, I had oftentimes had these dreams where I would wander through my house in the middle of the night, trying to find something or perhaps someone. The dream would always end when I find the tall, dark figure, nothing but a silhouette standing in the middle of my kitchen, exposed by the overhead light over the kitchen sink that hadn't even worked for years before. It was always on in that dream, though. I would wake up sometimes hearing these voices, not angry or of any emotional, but usually just 2 to 3 voices talking mid-sentence of audible English words that were distinguishable, but didn't make sense of much really. Sometimes I would even wake up frozen, like I couldn't breathe or move, but simply lay there with my eyes wide open for a few seconds, while still hearing the voices speak briefly. My mother has always experienced things as well as my older sister. My mom hearing a jingle, eerie coming from the back of the refrigerator or maybe the pantry late at night sometimes. Things would turn on or off. The year was 2001. I was just 8 years old. And one night, my mom woke up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. She was frozen in her steps in the hall when greeted by a deep, hollow, and loud voice right in front of her. That of a man, say slowly and forced out, "Don't worry, everything will be all right." Turned on the lights and looked around and saw nothing. It was a snowy night when she took a look outside. No fresh footsteps were ever seen around the home. She woke up my dad to go investigate the voice, but my dad didn't believe in ghosts or anything of the sort. He came into my room and grabbed my wooden baseball bat, and it woke me up. I worried for my dad and what was happening and wanted to go downstairs. I hadn't heard the voice in the hall. I just stayed awake and listened, but eventually fallen back to sleep. I only heard of this story later on when I was older, and had finally knew why my dad came in for my bat. My dad found nothing out of the ordinary, and my mom's father had passed away that previous year of a heart attack, and my dad's mother was suffering and dying of cancer at the time. My mom seems to think that the message was in reference to those events. Fast forward to 2018, my parents are divorced, and the house has been vacant for 2 to 3 years now, just to be heated during the winter months. My wife and I decided to move in to rent from my dad since we are tired of the apartment living. The first night I moved in and was unpacking, I immediately felt a strong presence and didn't feel like being there, almost like unwelcoming and being watched. I couldn't shake the feeling as my wife was working overnights at the coffee shop and I was alone. The next day is when it started to happen again. I got up from my morning shift at 4:30 a.m. and was brushing my teeth just in the other room. My wife woke up to a voice that said, "Earl." She asked me if I had said it, I, in fact, didn't. I was brushing my teeth at the time. I thought to myself, here we go again, but I didn't tell her that. The next morning, my wife was wide awake watching Netflix on her phone. 4:15 a.m. comes around. I snoozed the phone. Not long after, we hear this bizarre jingle at the foot of the bed for like 8 to 10 seconds. It was long enough for her to shake me and say my name, and I still heard it after waking up. It kind of reminded me of Take Me Out to the Ball Game from one of those little teddy bears or something. So terrified, we both threw the lights on and searched the room. There was nothing but boxes of clothes in our room and nothing that could have possibly made that sound. We got the house blessed the next day, and we hadn't experienced anything far out after that. Occasionally a light would work itself on, or the stove range fan would turn on by itself. It didn't work when we tried it. There was also another time where me and my wife were both standing right next to each other, and I was getting a phone call from her cell phone. But she was not using her phone, and it didn't even show she was calling me. I was too afraid to pick it up, but sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I did pick it up. Later on, we got a new home and my sister moved in, and one night had experienced a disembodied voice at the end of our bed, just whistling the tune to the TV show she had just finished watching. She also taken videos and seen several orbs just floating around. I just asked her the other day if she's experienced anything lately. She says that she doesn't anymore. Her and her boyfriend are in a good and happy place in life at the moment, and she seems to think that could be why she isn't experiencing weird things anymore. She also told me she thought that the house was some sort of portal where many spirits would come through. I'm not sure what to think or believe. But after me and my wife both hearing the hymn, it definitely must be something. Have any of these events ever happened to you? What do they all mean? Every time I sleep over at my father's house, I wake up with a headache, and every time I close a door, it locks, and I do not lock the door. The title basically, could this be due to ghost or paranormal activity? I'm just curious if anyone else experienced this, and it was due to ghost or spirit. I always get a bad energy from my father's home too. I'm 18 female, by the way. Edit. He does not lock the doors. They lock on the inside. Plus, they have turn locks. When I do not touch them, they lock. He even yells at me about locking the door when I didn't. Plus, we have a pretty toxic relationship. He causes me stress and anxiety and most problems in my life, he believes are my fault. I live in a house that used to belong to an old lady who died a long time ago in a retirement home because she had to leave our future home. The first experience was in my house. I was in the hallway going to the toilet when I was about 9 to 10 years old, and I see a purple shape as if it was a curtain. We don't have curtains in our hallway, and it was swinging. It could be a vision I imagined. It could be something I imagined when I was a kid, but I don't know. The second time, I was in my room in my bed. I was trying to find a comfortable position for me to sleep, and I heard a whisper saying my name. I was like 10 years old. It could be an auditory vision. These two experiences I had are in my house, and the last thing that happened was at the beach house with some old friends. And as for the first experience, it was the night I wanted to go to the toilet. I was in a hallway, and I see a person in the shadows sitting there. He didn't talk. I was forced to go where he was, because the toilet was in that hallway. I pass, and then nothing. He didn't say anything. He had his head down too. And when I came back to go to bed, he was always there, just saying nothing. And the next morning, I no longer saw the shadow. Tell me what you think about it. Hallucinating? Or having auditory delusions? Or is this ghosts? First time posting. I have experienced quite a bit of paranormal business. I even started a podcast to share all of this on and discuss other people's experiences as well. Last episode, I shared how my dog's behavior in my apartment is a bit off. Day to day, she's fine, but there will be times she just sits in front of my giant mirror and stares at herself. Or at least I hope she's staring at herself. Sometimes she'll growl at her reflection. When she does this, it gets creepy. I know mirrors can be portals, and I have some big-ass mirrors. Aside from growling at her own reflection, she's even growled at the foot of my bed into nothingness. One of the nights this happened, I also heard a woman's voice call my name from the same area she was growling at. I have 2 dogs. My other dog usually backs her up when she growls at nothing, but doesn't join in when it's the mirror. I've lived in haunted apartments, and I for sake wouldn't classify this place as that. However, my dog is constantly on alert and can see and feel what I can't.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross